Bro's doing video.
Yep.
Oh, get the whole thing? Come on in.
Even though nobody said who they were.
Yeah, I was going to say most everything.
Yeah, still under construction. So welcome to True Colors. I always tell people on this tour, like, we really encourage you to ask non-PC questions because we really want people to fully understand the mission and what we're trying to achieve. And if you have any confusion or you heard something, like, now's the time to ask, and we want you to ask those questions so that we can provide transparency. True Colors was started originally back in 2015 when a 16-year-old on Castle Street was shot down. George at the time owned a company called Untapped located on Front Street and heard about the shooting and just reached out to Ben David, our DA, and said, what happened? Ben David said, look, it was a gang-affiliated drive-by shooting. And George said, we have gangs in Wilmington, ? And Ben said, yes, we do actually have a little bit of a problem in Wilmington. So George, in an effort to learn more about it, sat down with Ben and the gang task force leaders and just heard what they thought the biggest problems were and issues were in the city. From there, George also wanted to meet with some of the gang members to hear their perspective. He's a serial entrepreneur. This is his 9th startup. So just curiosity is what made him want to reach out to those guys and hear their perspective. So after a lot of convincing and a lot of phone calls, because the guys for sure thought he worked for the federal agents, it was not a trustworthy situation. So after a lot of convincing, the first few guys did come in and meet with George. And based around those conversations, what George kept hearing over and over again was that based on lack of economic opportunity, people were fighting over the very small amount of resources that existed in their communities, and this is what drove violence. George said, if it's economic opportunity, that's something I can do something about as an entrepreneur. If you think that that's the real issue, and that if we provide an economic opportunity that will decrease violence, let's try this. So George hired 11 guys right off of the bat and had them come in and do the Untapped sales program. Those guys became the highest sellers in that group. They fit in culturally, and that kind of led us to believe that street skills absolutely do translate into business skills, and a lot of the things that they had learned were really beneficial in the corporate world. So in that first 6 or 7 months, violence went down by 70% in that first little bit. And because the guys were able to hold up their end of the deal, George said, okay, you were able to drive down violence, work together cohesively, and work well in the office, like we'll start True Colors. And so we officially kind of kicked off the True Colors as you see now in 2018. We kind of bounced around from Untapped, a house on the north side, and ended up here in the fall of 2019 is when we started construction. So COVID hit in 2020, and that pushes construction back. We knew it was important to us to hurry up and get this done. We considered ourselves an essential business because if the guys are not in here working towards their goals and developing their skills, then they're outside, and like that doesn't lead to very positive results. So Monteith was able to get this portion of the building, which is just our 9 to 5 office building, done by September of 2020 is when we officially moved into this office. This office houses up at the front. We've got everything all together. Our brand is about unity. So we bring together gangs in Wilmington, but we also bring civilians and gangs together. We bring experts in their field with people who need developmental training. We have all these things around unity in the office. And so this layout embraces that. We have everyone from our founder on this floor to every single position below that. So we have marketing in here, we have inside sales in here, we have distributor relations, we have production, finance, HR, and guys are, the gang guys that work here are flooded throughout each of those departments in developmental roles until they can work themselves into leadership roles, which they have. Some of the guys who you see here tonight are directors of marketing, director of events, director of outside sales, and they've done really well for themselves. This building was built in 1946. It used to be the old Century Mills building, and then it sat abandoned for 20 plus years. So when we came in, you'll see the ceiling, like you'll see some original ceiling, and then you'll see these bright bits of aluminum that are kind of new, but some of the building was caved in on itself in lots of different places. So it was just completely hollowed from front to back before we got here.
All the brick you see is original brick. If you in our lobby and in the bar, you'll see refurbished old original wood. So we tried to take as much of the old history in the building as possible and put it into towards the new features. Cool. Questions about office? Questions about anything?
So were your workers that are in the gangs, are they from different gangs?
So I'm going to get into that right out here. That's the next part of it.
Just curious.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we got 3 different gangs. We've got Bloods, Crips, and Jeans.
No office in-house fighting, huh?
Nope. Well, that's the thing. If we kind of, it leads to like the training program.
through here to end the tour. Actually, we'll come back through the brewery. These two rooms are the most important rooms in the building. These house the classrooms of Tru Colors. In Wilmington, we have 3 major gangs. We have Bloods, Crips, and GDs. And those gangs have decided amongst themselves to work together cohesively in this office. Here's where I like to clear up some discrepancies in the media and where I encourage people to ask questions. Tru Colors, let's get some things straight, does not force guys to stay in gangs. If you decide after you start working at Tru Colors that you do not want to be in a gang and you decide to leave that gang, that choice is yours, and we support your choice. You do not lose your job. We work with active gang members for these reasons. We are not a nonprofit. We are a for-profit solution to ending violence today. Not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now. There is no long-term plan. We have 24 hours in each day. Each 24-hour period, we do what we can, and our guys do what they can to stop bullets from flying. Most of the time that is successful. If that is not successful, and leadership who are here in this gang or here in the building, are unable to prevent something, because we are talking about humans, you know what I mean? And humans have emotions, and emotion drives things. And so if something does occur, what our team is able to do and what the leaders that we work with are able to do, because they have influence, is to pull guys into this building to prevent any type of retaliation from happening or anything from escalating any further than it did that day. The guys work together to do this originally through going through the Disrupt You program. So this is an 8-week program. The guys recruit each other based on 2 different things. Do you have influence, and can you push down peace and opportunity within your prospective set or gang? Or 2, do you need an opportunity, because if we don't pull you in and give you an opportunity in a few weeks, you could potentially be a problem. Like, that could be the second reason that maybe you're provided an opportunity at Tru. They recruit each other based on those 2 things. When they first get to Tru Colors, you have to go through an 8-week program that we call Disrupt You. If you are 1 second late at any point through that 8 weeks, you are dismissed from the program. Highly encouraged to come back and the next time that we do a Disrupt You, but it is a very strict 8-week program designed for about 20% to fail. From 8 to 12 in the mornings, the guys are focused on working out aggressively, doing yoga and meditation. This gets out a lot of tension that's built up. If you live in an environment where you're used to looking over your shoulders every 30 seconds, every 3 seconds, you're coming in with a lot of built up tension. You want to release some of that tension during the morning and get your body moving. And then in the afternoon, we focus on the essentials that you need as far as life skills go. So you've not even learned anything about what your position will be in the brewery, but you're focused on financial literacy, housing, healthy relationship, and conflict resolution. Some of the guys that come through that group together have been opponents in the past potentially, or have not gotten along in the past, and there are people who are experts in their field during that first 8 weeks to make sure the guys have the support that they need. So there was normally a therapist on staff. If we do something for financial literacy, PNC will come in and they will run that financial literacy portion of the class, and that's how that first 8 weeks is run. Once you graduate, we do what we call the initiation. So as a graduation process, everyone goes skydiving together. So this idea of like skydiving is like limiting beliefs that have held you back in your life previously, leave those behind you, leave those in the air, and jump into new opportunities for yourself, your community, and your brothers.
It's also a great time to admit that you're afraid, which everybody is. Everybody is when you get up to that door, and right before you jump out that plane. There's a lot of really tough guys that scream like little girls right before they jump out.
This could be completely esoteric. I mean, you mentioned upset yourself, or say it again.
Disrupt You.
Disrupt You. Is that part of a nonviolent or conflict resolution curriculum that's more nationally or internationally astounded to? It sounds like a lot like harm reduction models that are used in housing and such.
So there is a group in Chicago called Violence Interrupters. Okay, so this Disrupt You program is made up from a bunch of different pieces. KO, who's our Chief People Officer, originally put this program together and did a really wonderful job of taking bits and pieces of things that have been kind of done across the nation, right? That have worked really well, and put them here and adapted it to our guys so that it is more accepted by our team, and like there's a good understanding of what's going on as far as like their path personally is concerned. Because the groups are a little bit smaller, you do get a little bit more one-on-one attention, I think, in this environment.
Okay, cool.
But she's done a really good job of like putting specifics around and then adapting that program as we learn.
Yeah.
Now, Grip out there told us earlier that he's got like 8 certifications from these programs. Is this where that happens?
So through Disrupt You, so once you graduate Disrupt You, you can do, it's really a couple of things. One, what's the need of the company? Like how, if there's a position that's available, then we're gonna offer that job to you first. If you have a certain interest and you come in here, then we'll offer that position to you to do an internship afterwards. So once you graduate, you go 2 months on the floor. So either in marketing or HR or finance or whatever your interest is. Yeah, and once you're in that environment, then you're in that 2 month kind of test phase. Then that's when you would get certified in those special things. Now, if you show interest in this class and something specifically right off the bat, like all of the computer skill kind of certifications and all the basics would happen in here, absolutely. Now, then there will be guys that go on that get certified in like digital marketing and like will go on to do continued education in their specific concentration. And if they have a desire to go to, I was thinking like Cape Fear Community College for public speaking or something, like I've done that in the past with some.
That was going to be my next question is,
Yeah.
do any of these courses translate over to credits at like a community college or
A lot of our,
or is that a goal?
Well, what we see a lot of times, a lot of our guys, so when you are on probation, you have to get your GED. It's like a requirement of some probations depending who your officer is. And so a lot of our guys will do that as soon as they get home. And then once that's achieved, I think that GED or then you can go on and those classes would transfer over. Now the classes that they're getting certified in here though, like financial literacy or digital marketing or finance or whatever, those are classes that we would use through like an online course thing. So I don't know how many of those would actually be could you transfer over to like a community college or a university? But that part is not as important to us as like actually having the skill that you need to survive in the real world. So like, yeah, there's that part too, I think.
And then I'm just curious, none of that cost is incurred by the participants?
No, as soon as you start at True Colors, like when you are, when you come into Disrupt G, you receive a $30,000 salary with full coverage health care. Once you graduate and
Enter in the year,
Enter
even
in
for the job listing.
correct. Just to come and take the class, you're getting paid a salary and full health coverage. Once you graduate that class, you immediately receive a $5,000 raise and you got $35,000 with full health coverage. Once you get through your 2 month period and you're in your department where you're going to be at, then it's really up to you and your manager. You can, but the very minimal amount that you can make once you've been accepted into a department is $37,500 plus full health coverage, and then it goes up from there, like depending on your managerial skills and what role you want to play. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, so we do, I think it's, well, really the main bottleneck is
Oh wow.
And be careful if you, I'm just going to warn you now, if you sit on that couch,
You
sit
won't
at
get
your
up.
own risk. I'm not liable for anything that happens on that piece of furniture over there. I don't trust it.
It's a nice sound stage.
To say you found like a sound studio.
Okay, yes. So this is for sure one of the more unique areas for a brewery. It's rare that you would see a recording studio like this, but this is important because of a couple reasons. Back in 2018, as a lot of y'all I think probably already know, but we did not have product until October of 2021.
Yep.
And so from 2018 until then, what we really were working on as a collective group was one, what does it look like when rival gangs potentially work together in the same building? Two, what does it look like when civilians work with with gang members, period. Three, what does our brand look like? How do we talk about it? What's the language that we use? And so at that time, it was like we were throwing spaghetti at the wall and like kind of seeing what stuck and to make sure that we could like actually do what we said we were going to do. And so, because we did not have a product, what we did was Keem, who worked with the guys a lot in the community, as he was their music producer for a lot of the guys, and also cinematographer who do their music videos. So called Keem up. We did a couple of trial things. This is what I love about this space. Anytime that you see documentaries around active gang members, which means they are still part of their organizations, right? It does not mean that they're involved in violence, but it means that they're a part of their organizations, which is, I think, a very important, distinct line. The faces will be blacked out, voices will be changed. You're getting old, movie B-roll. What these guys have been courageous enough to do is allow us to put their face and their voice on this, allow allowed us to film them tell their stories. And what the reason that this is so important is because when you hear these stories, I've interviewed every guy that has ever come through these doors, and there's not one person who has had a story that says, like, I chose violence, this is what I wanted for my life, I thought it would be cool to be in a gang, I thought it would be cool to choose this lifestyle. Every single story, origin story, has a really tough start. And we have a saying at True Colors that says, don't judge my choices until you understand what my options were. 9 times out of 10, when you hear what those options were, we probably would have made a similar choice to survive at that time for a lot of the stories that I have personally heard in the studio. I think that this department is important because the way that we perceive gang for most of us is going to be the way that the media has perceived gang in the past, or the way that Hollywood has perceived, made gang look in media and certain movies, which is terrifying and non-human and violent and all of those things. And I think what I have personally learned is that's not a very true depiction, and it's definitely not the only truth for a majority of these guys. And so these stories allow us, one, to give the guys their own voice to be able to tell their version of the stories and what has happened to them and how this all occurred for them. And then the other thing is that for a lot of our guys, even in our own city, these are the only secondary narratives that exist outside of what the media has created. So their stories are really important. We entered a short film in a film festival back in 2019 and won Audience Choice Award, and we could really see that the audience had a very visceral reaction. So we knew that this studio and this storytelling aspect of what True Colors was doing was very important because it allows the guys to speak for themselves and creates a narrative that is more true than the one that exists today. But I've got one thing to show you, and then we'll go on. But it's more documentary type stuff that we do, a lot of docu-follow, and we're really proud of all of it. Yeah.
Do a lot of music too.
Music, yeah. So 2020 hired Trig because music can be weaponized. And be very used as really as a weapon. And so we said, Trig came in and he said, look, Megan, if you're looking for a super positive like Christian rapper, I'm not the guy for you. I can only talk about what I have seen and what I have experienced. And the only thing I have ever experienced has been, what I have seen in my life. And I said, look, talk about those things. There are important things in there. People need to hear about your experiences in your life. But you can do that without inciting violence and being disrespectful to people who have passed, which Trig has done an incredibly beautiful job of doing. And through our network and contacts, he's able to meet with some really big record labels who are helping us with A&R. And what I would love for him is to get signed by a label, so that then people who come behind him, he creates a pathway for younger artists in this city who may have thought, well, violence is the only way that rap music is going to sell, and he can create a new kind of path for them. Anyway. Yeah, I got something different for you today.
I wanted to be a basketball player. I think that's every kid's dream growing up, or every black kid's dream. Basketball player or football player or a rapper. And then when I got a little older, I just wanted to be a gangster. I grew up in foster care, so, you know what I'm saying? I had bounced around from home to home, little institution to institution, stuff like that. I mean, I ain't really care nothing about the American dream, because where we come from, we ain't never really seen nobody look like us living the American dream. You know what I'm saying? We had our own dreams, and that was more so what I was focused on.
So what age were you whenever you joined the gang?
I mean, 7. Me and my friends, we started our own gang about 7, 8 years old. I remember we was KIG, keeping the gangster, 7 years old. All the gangsters had the money, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have to go to school to get it. I ain't really paid too much attention to the negative side of it, like people get dying and going to jail, but it took me to this last prison bed, and being grown and kind of elevating my mind and stuff to really realize my life is worth more than that. You know what I'm saying? I've always had a love for my community and my people. You know what I'm saying? Even when I was out here tearing it up, like, I always had a love for them, so I don't want to see them, especially the younger ones, go down the same path I went down.
So you were like a respectful gang, right?
I mean, we all are to an extent, you know, like, because gangs started as something to uplift and protect the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us just lost our way somewhere down the road. We got some core values to love and protect and uplift your community. Coming to True Colors was really just like, you know what I'm saying, we should have been doing this. It's got a long way to go, but I think it got the most potential. Prosperity to me is like being able to leave something for my kids. Like now I'm in a position where I have a job, where I can put some money up every now and then. I can send my kids here or there. I can just secure their future. I would say that staying free, staying alive, being there for your family, your children, helping your people, that's the most gangster shit you can do out here. All that other shit, being in prison, that shit's for lames.
All right, let me share this with you. So this is always, because Ant in this video, not very long after this video, standing in that same location where we had the boxes, we were giving out turkeys. On that same night, Ant, not doing anything, but in the wrong place at the wrong time, received 5 bullets from being shot in that exact location from handing out that he was handing out turkeys in earlier in his community. That night, he survived. Clearly, sorry, I should have lived with that. He survived, but in the hospital, guys were calling him pissed off. Like, we won't. You are the voice of the community. We respect you. You're this voice of positivity. You're this beacon of hope. Like, how dare you have been hit by bullets, stray bullets? They were pissed and they wanted revenge, retaliation. And I heard Ant over and over and over again on those phone calls. I witnessed him say, do not go out here and put your life on the line for me. There are opportunities out here that existed that did not exist when I was your age. This is a different time and place. I heard him prevent things happen even when he was laying in his hospital bed after being hit. So to me, this works because I've witnessed him do it. I've witnessed the guys do it, and it's really incredible and beautiful to know that he has the strength and the courage to use that influence even when he's at his kind of worst. You know what I mean? But anyway, really brave guy. Super, super great.
Yeah, he's really awesome to talk to. He's one of a member of our landlord team, which are like our guys that are very higher up in their gang. They have influence on the street, and their job is essentially to keep their finger on the pulse of the streets, to prevent retaliatory violence, to prevent people from being in situations where there could be something like that pop off. So he's a really integral part of the Tru Colors mission. He's a great guy to talk to. If he's around here today, probably not. Yeah, then he's a good, cool guy to talk to. He's got great stories.
I would say too, and this is an important part when we talk about gang, and that seems to be the concern. Every guy I've ever interviewed, right? Like when I'm interviewing the guys, and I say, like, what we're saying is that street skills can be translated into business skills. There can be positive assets to what you're doing out here in the community. Would you want your son to be in a gang? Will you let your son be in a gang? And what do you think every single guy says? No. Every single guy says no. And I will say, well, why? If we're saying like there can be good, he will say, because what I'm doing here by being here, what I'm doing is creating economic opportunity that was not available to me. I'm opening doors that were not available to my son. I am creating opportunities that did not exist for him. So when you think about Tru Colors, not just in the next 3 to 5 years, right? We have 10% of the gang members in the city on staff right now. Imagine if we had 50%. If we were selling beer at a rate that we could get 50%
I'm sorry to
of the
interrupt.
guys.
You just said 10% of the estimated gang population of Wilmington is employed here at
right.
Tru
10.
Colors. You've taken out 1/10 of the gang violence problem and put them into a job program.
Sure, yeah. And now imagine what happens if
With one company.
in 5 or 10 years when their sons no longer. What happens is not only does economic opportunity increase and violence decrease, but gang membership as a whole decreases in the future because their sons are not having to make the same hard choices that they had to make at that age. Like, that's what I really want people to know when they, you know what I'm saying? Like, no one is saying gangs are super amazing. Everyone should join one at this company. That's not the point. What we're saying is we are an immediate solution to a problem that we have tried the same types of solutions over and over and over again in the past, and they have not worked, or they're not working.
So have you guys received any kind of gang retaliation for trying to step in and stop?
No, but we don't step in. So let's be clear.
I mean, just
Yeah.
for it could be perceived that you are.
The guys handle that. The guys know. You know what I mean? That landlord team, those guys have influence. That's why having leadership in your gang is important. Like, you're an important role at Tru Colors. If you are coming home from prison and the guys know that you're a very important fixture within their community or whatever,
Just kind of don't touch it.
no, you're coming in with
Yeah,
us immediately, like the second that you get home.
How long before you expect the second generation of employees?
I mean, that's a really great. The second that beer starts selling at the rate that we need it to sell it, so that we can hire as many people as we can. The more beer we sell, the more jobs we create. I mean, that's the only purpose of that beer.
So with our facility, at the current rate that we produce, I mean, we are in the entirety of North Carolina. We were able to put up some pretty impressive numbers. We were the fastest growing beer last year. Tru Light was. Our facility we can service 3-4 states. We could service most of the Southeast region from this facility. So that's our main goal. We want to open up distribution channels. We want to use this facility, have as many employees as possible, go and operate, as many shifts as possible to provide those jobs. And then the idea is we use Tru Colors blueprint, even if it's not beer, but we take it up, find another city that we know this works. We can, we have a blueprint, we have a strategy. We go into a different community, a different area with this same idea, and start it there. So we want Tru Colors to be kind of a plug and play, process.
The rest of this tour goes really fast
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know
Now it's beer stuff.
Yeah, now it's beer stuff, and I just don't know a lot about it.
Oh man, I was gonna get lots
All right, the
of
stuff
questions.
that you're here to see.
You're doing good.
Not really. Isn't that supposed to be 7?
All right.
Yeah, no, what I do is I just keep walking right past this.
This is where we play. This is where we do yoga.
This is the gymnasium. Right. So Shaq Thompson, who plays for the Carolina Panthers, is one of our brand influencers, and is helping us pick out the equipment. Actually, I already know what he's just 3 main things that will go in here. But do not worry, because the instructors that come in, like for the workouts and stuff, do not need equipment anyway.
The way it works
They're like
anymore.
military type body weight people.
Is that all volunteer?
Military time.
Military. Well, that's what they look like.
The blue foam, the blue foam.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Hey, do not. This is glycol.
What?
This is glycol.
That's
Yeah,
why it's
which is
that's
super
why it's in the
slippy.
side.
Yeah, so-
It's more slippery than water.
Oh, way beyond. So go that way.
It makes water slippery.
Yeah.
Damn it, they're cooking
Oh, I know.
Bro,
Did you not see the?
no, that's the size of the thing at Miller Brewery.
Did you not see the
That
towers
goes-
outside?
So that you guys are beer folk. So that's our malt. It'll filter in those huge. It can hold like 200, 300 pounds of malt, and it will get it down to the pectogram.
So you guys are totally dry. Whoa. The whole thing's right here.
This is where Nick geeks out.
Our hops and malt are come in. We have one of the largest brewing setups in Wilmington. We'll show you the tanks outside. We have the largest, bright tank and brew tank storage. This is really awesome. The guys from Molson Coors helped us to design this. Everything is state of the art. Once our beer goes into the mash tunnel and we mix in the flavorings and the brew, the beer never touches air again until you crack a can or pour the draft. So everything is piped through, airtight. We even have something like for the lagering process. Not a brewer myself, but we can change the temperature of things to like the half of a degree. So everything is really controlled, because that's the problem. That's our main issue with brewing as much beer as we do, is we always want Tru Light to taste the same. If you buy it, here, crack a can, pour it out of the draft. We always want it to taste the same, no matter if it's this can, the first can that comes off the line, or the 4 millionth in the year that we can brew. Because at full steam, we can do 4 million cans in a year. We grow our own yeast. That's the yeast colony right there. If you change up the yeast profile even slightly, it'll change the effect of your yield. It'll change the flavor. So it's just a lot of very small incremental changes that you have to control to keep the beer the same. Yeah, exactly. Micromanagement for the best, the lightest water that we can pull out. So we call this the BAC. This is the big ass cooler. Once the beer gets brewed, it's a light lager, so we try to keep it as cold as possible. So in here you'll see cans and kegs that go out all across North Carolina. We use 6 major distributors from Coastal, who he's right around there. There he is. To United, Carolina Premium. So we keep our beer as cold as possible. We want it to be shipped cold, served cold. So everything is kept in here as storage. I think it's one of the bigger coolers in town. Yeah, for sure. So we can hold a lot of beer in here. Yeah. You want to organize it? Well, I'll find you a pallet jack right now.
Pretty good.
Yeah, we were gonna peek, but just a little. Is there anybody still trapped in there?
No.
Room in there.
Oh
You
yeah,
can put a little more
we've
stuff
got a
in
lot
there.
of room. We've got a lot of
More
room.
room for stuff.
We have a whole wall that's designated for the beer that we drink. So.
You can still fit a hand truck in there.
So if you're from the Wilmington area, and you've heard Gen X, our water's bad. So that was a concern of ours when we wanted to set it up. This is our triple reverse osmosis filter. It can do as much beer as we need, as much water as we need to brew beer, service everything, that we all drink here at the tap room. So it's a really huge part of the process because we don't want the contaminants in the system. We have a keg crane. So our kegging station, it's one of a problem. It's heavy to load around a half barrel. So we have an automatic crane to make sure that that's a 2-man job, keep it as efficient as possible. All guys get their CDL. They work in the brew team, get their CDL, get their certifications to do the heavy machinery like the tow truck, the forklift, things like that. All right. We're almost done. I'll get you guys back to the bar. These are all our tanks. This is where, after the initial cook, a big part of the lagering is to let it ferment, let it lager. The lagering process is we have to do it cold. So all of these are imagine them as the biggest Yetis you've ever seen. They're all double insulated with glycerol to keep the temperature in there as stable as possible. Now, obviously, if you're from the area, we deal with the heat of the summer, we deal with tropical storms, we deal with hurricanes, a lot of things that'll affect power, that'll affect, temperature changes. With these, we can keep that beer inside protected and temperature controlled. If the power goes out for a couple weeks, if it snows like Wilmington's does, if it snows one weekend and then it's 80 the next weekend, it's not going to affect the flavor profile. And then on this side, we have 3 bright tanks. So this is where the beer goes after we cook it, and this is where it goes before it's ready, to be served. The bright tanks are kind of like this, except there's beer chips that they're even more temperature controlled. So after the beer is finished here and is ready to keg or can, and we don't have demand for it, we can fill up these bright tanks and we can keep the beer as stable as possible without affecting the taste, without affecting the service date for up to 4 to 6 months.
Even through the summer.
Even through the summer. Yeah, it's the double. The walls are like this thick, filled with glycerol, so it would take a blowtorch.
What kind of generator you guys got?
It's
So when the power goes out.
yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one.
What are these?
130. Yeah.
I've not
Yeah.
seen brights outside. That's bold.
Yeah, it is, and with the amount of, I don't even know how many there are. I think there's 12. But it's a lot of beer we can get going on at once.
Good. And it's direct lined into your bottle station.
Yep. It's piped around. It goes all the beer. I won't show it because it's a boring room that you wouldn't know what you're looking at. But all the beer is actually sent through a centrifuge that spins at 3,000 revolutions per second to get out all the impurities, to get out all the haze. So you have a really clear, crystal clear beer product. So it's really awesome too. That machine's, I think it's dangerous. I don't know. They tell me not to go in when the light's on. So they don't let me back here very often. So I'm just as excited as you guys are.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think that's it's about beer 30. I'll show you guys the canning station and we'll be ready to go.
It's a tall fence, Rob. Never got over that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. They said open.
Yes, that's the one that the centrifuge is in. Don't understand that room very often. We have a lab where most of the beer is. They put white lab coats on. They drop stuff into colors. Apparently that's quality control. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So this is our canning station. It's really awesome. What normally is a huge production in the beer world that takes a huge team of people, all these machines cut down on the amount of labor that it takes and labor that you need to keep the canning line going. We can forklift the whole pallet of those cans into this machine over here, and it will lift them up and carry them onto this conveyor belt. They'll go down, spin out any debris, be washed, filled, and topped in that machine over there. They come into this big oven back there where we heat the outside of the can so it doesn't condensate on the glue or the cardboard packaging. So it'll control the outside of the can to prevent the condensation from affecting the package before we can get it into the BAC. And so what normally takes it's like an 18-man job with how quick we can go. We can handle it with 6 to 8 people. Eight people, and they're usually not too happy. 6 people, they come out sweating and they're cussing a little bit. So 8 people is really kind of the target.
What's the? Did you say what the average case per hour is?
So we can do a whole pallet of cases in about 16 minutes. So and that's from loading up that machine to putting them on a pallet and wrapping them up. 16 minutes. So very efficient. Perfect. Any questions that I can answer? Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you,
on the
Jay.
tour. That's True Colors.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.